Warning, this commentary is not for children. Some mild language will be in use, and my commentaries are directed towards older audiences, especially whom is the target of today's commentary. I will be talking about some heavy and mature things while trying to keep it lighthearted. Thank you for listening, and do enjoy. Merry meet and blessed be. I'm your Wicked Witch of the West, PegaGamer, and welcome to my first 2020 commentary, you guys. And this is on someone I've been wanting to cover for quite some time, but waited to get some more information. And that happens to be Gregory, Greg, or James, whatever he wants to be called, Jackson, or who we all know, and I do say sarcastically, love, Onison.
Oh, hell no!
Okay, I get it. Thank you. Anywho, I'm sure you all know who Onison and/or Greg is. However, if you do not know him somehow or have not been fully caught up, I am willing and nice to give a brief summary of him and the events revolving around Greg. Greg is an OG YouTuber and went viral in the early 2010s with an ever-infamous banana costume video. After that, he continued to make videos giving quote-unquote good advice and claiming he's helping others with body image problems and judging girls' bodies and questionable skits. I used to be a fan of his content, but when he did a video jokingly dropping his son and killing him, I stopped watching. That was too much for me. Greg has also recently been outed with a lot of damning evidence against him, allegedly for being a child groomer, abuser, and just an overall gross human being. Currently, he is being investigated by Chris Hansen himself, but also the FBI. Thank Thor for that. I also want to stress this, and I will not stress it enough, that I will not be showing any of the clips of what I explained so far due to how Greg likes to false copyright things, but also due to the fact that I would like to respect the victims. I will be linking two things in the description below, so you guys should totally check it out for yourselves. The first is the Onison Files by Mr. Epsilon. It's a great video. It's going through everything that I explained so far, but in much greater detail, much better than I did. And the other is a playlist of all of Chris Hansen's recent interviews regarding the allegations and explaining what's going on so far. Now that that's done and over with, I will also like to stress that I will be kinda referencing this and other actions that he has done in this video that I'm covering, and examples of his hypocrisy and pointing out his manipulative words, because I've seen a few commentaries on this video and they weren't very good pointing out his issues, and well, here I am. And I'm going to try and not to do what everyone else has done, which is only insult him because, well, it's obviously Greg. Like I said, I'm going to point out manipulative wording and use examples of past behavior if I can, and maybe jab here and there, we'll see, but that is not my goal in this commentary. It is to point out some issues that I have with his wording. Also, the visuals are going to be a bit different and mostly audio based, so enjoy this weird stock photo, I suppose. Here we go.
So, let's talk about what needs to be talked about in regards to how you perceive the world. Let's say that you have an issue with somebody because you think that their problems aren't as big as yours. Let's say that you think because you have certain challenges in life that suddenly other challenges aren't as valid. A child who drops their ice cream on the ground and is crying harder than they ever have in their life, you're not going to think very highly of somebody if they walk up and they say, well, if you think that's bad, you should try going through a divorce. That doesn't make the kid feel better. That kid's pain is still valid. And all you really accomplished is proving that you're a a-hole who doesn't understand pain, how the grass is always greener on the other side.
A minute in and oh boy, here we go. Okay, well, I do understand what he's saying. However, there's a problem already with what he's putting out there. Yes, Greg, people are dealing with things regardless of who they are. To them, it's going to be. There's different levels of pain, and people process it much differently than each other. I would also like to add that children are balls of emotion, and they will express it in the rawest form. They don't have the proper coping mechanisms to handle or show those expressions yet. Regardless of the different views in life, people experience different emotions, different life events that cause and shape them into who they are as adults. That's how it is. Our past determine that for us. Sometimes we'll hit the hard roadblock, but it's up to us to figure out how to continue. It's how fate is at times. And I know it's an example, but let's stick on a little longer, okay? You don't go up to just anyone and say, well, you should try going through a divorce. You don't know if that person lived through it, watched their parents or close relatives or friends go through it, or they went through one themselves. What I'm saying is you claiming that they don't understand pain is so black and white and pretty obviously manipulative wording on your end, whether you intended it or not. Well, yes, the grass is greener on the other side, but what if that's not the right grass for them? It's not the right path for them. It's so much more vast than what you've stated. Sticking more with your adult child example you used, one is an emotional ball, still growing and unable to use proper self-care techniques, and again, still developing. The other is a full functional adult who has learned those techniques and able to take care of themselves, is telling an inexperienced child something they still fully don't understand and self-victimizing themselves in order to feel some form of self-gratification, which is a manipulative tactic abusers use in order to get themselves their own pity and make others feel inadequate. A child is someone who has not experienced a divorce one-on-one yet, or probably has maybe seen it or lived it. They don't understand it fully yet, but that doesn't mean they don't understand when somebody is hurting or upset. Greg, you can't use those examples because that's comparing an orange to a kiwi. It doesn't work that way. That doesn't mean they don't understand what pain is. They just understand it at a different level through their experiences and express it differently. If they use that pain in the wording you just did, then that's manipulative and toxic behavior. Thor, give me strength. We're only a minute in.
You know what I mean? So when you're a human being, and it's sad that we have to explain this to some people, but when you're a human being, we have this consistent, many of us, feeling that things could be better. And so we look at things, I wish I had a bigger house, I wish I had a nicer car, and we wish. And then we look at people who have the things we don't, and we say, oh, well, they don't have problems, because if I had that, I'd be happy.
While yes, as humans we solve problems, however, animals in nature does that too. Kinda wanna point that out. Problem solving is actually a great thing that we all have. However, you don't need to explain it. It's in our DNA. Also, with your statement on how you worded things, people wishing to have things that others have and naturally be envious, saying it's a bad thing, that's kind of false, my dude. Like, I wish I had a better job. I wish I had more D&D dice. I wish I had a car or a house. But I know I'm not there yet, and that gives me hope knowing I will get there. I'm lucky to have the job that I have that pays me very well, actually. I'm lucky to have the dice that I have. I'm lucky to have a roof over my head, and I'm lucky that I can ride the bus to and from work every day. It's normal to look at something and, well, wish that you've had it. But that's not everyone. You can't assume that they're all going to be thinking that way. And not everybody sees what others have as a problem all the time. Probably not as much, but you don't know if that person worked to get that car, to get that house. Like I said before, you don't know what that person's life is like. And assuming that everyone thinks like this 24/7 is much more false than anything else, man. No one wakes up in the morning and be like, man, I can't wait to be jealous of another human being all day. This isn't really right. This is pretty gross. It's not manipulative exactly, but it's more ignorant on how people think and work than anything else.
But the problem with that is that human beings are problem solvers. And in order to be a problem solver, you have to identify problems. And when you identify problems, it probably means that you're not necessarily feeling great about them. Because when you identify problems, that's now a problem that you have.
Maybe the lack of a better living situation is a problem, my dude. Maybe the lack of something that they see someone else has is giving them the drive to see the end of their own goal and make their wishes come true. Have you thought of that? Ignorance is so strong with this one. It hurts.
So what I'm saying is that a person who just worries about eating food doesn't care about these bigger issues. Yet emotionally, they react to a lot of these issues the same way as if they were dealing with what someone would perceive as smaller issues. So when you say something like, oh, skinny girls, your problems aren't valid because I'm fat and being fat is a real problem. This is not true. Problems are problems. And when people react the same emotionally to being fat as they do to being skinny, in both their eyes, those problems are pretty equal because emotionally they're feeling them the same way. So their suffering is the same. And we as human beings who care about each other, we're compassionate towards suffering, not towards how big the problem is in our opinion.
Fucking what? You're comparing an apple to a banana, my dude. Guess what? Depending on the person and how their bodies are built, being too skinny or too fat is actually, a bad thing. It's a health concern. With your past behavior by judging girls' bodies, you told them they were too fat or too skinny, and you still act like that's okay to do. But, you turn around and claim that it's not fair to compare them? That's not right, even though in a sense you are correct. However, there's an issue with your statement. As a problem-solving species, we should focus on said problem so we can find a solution to stop it or prevent it happening again. Bringing awareness to others' issues is in a sense, in a way, solving a problem. If someone is experiencing body image issues and attacking others for those problems, they're showing their insecurities. That's not helping. No one is helping in that sense. That's being toxic and avoiding the problem because they don't want to face the truth. It's so much more broad than that.
We're compassionate towards the feeling because we ourselves don't like suffering. So we try to correct the suffering. We try to make people's lives better. So when you say your suffering is not valid, but my suffering is, even though it's essentially the same sensation of suffering, because let's be real, if there was no suffering, nobody felt bad about anything, then it would be hard to be a victim of something in many instances. Not all, but in many instances. For instance, if someone cheated on me and I was laughing my butt off and totally fine with it, like I didn't have any emotional negative response, that doesn't really make me a victim of that, in the sense that I'm not showing damages. When you don't show damages, it's hard to show that someone did something bad.
Oh my god, my dude. All I'm hearing you say is to tell people to bottle things up. I'm going to be real, that's not okay. This is another form of manipulative behavior. Yes, we want to stop suffering to feel better, but sadly we don't live in a society like that, Greg. What we can do best is to live our best lives in the best positive and best way that we can. Suffering is just part of life. What I'm saying is, with your tone, you may or may not mean it, is guilting those who struggle. And the cheating bit, while yeah, that's true to an extent, people are very different on what they really pretty much count as cheating. May it be flirting with a stranger to straight up having intimate relations with them. Why tell others to bottle your emotions up? Explains your quote-unquote mental breakdowns, my dude. Some truth is in there, my man. You just don't want to admit it.
Kind of like somebody walking up to a wall, and if you spray paint it and you can see spray paint on it, graffiti, it's a clear crime that occurred. But if somebody spray paints a wall with transparent spray paint and there's nothing there, you can't see anything, it's hard to get someone in trouble for that because you don't really have proof.
Hold up. Is this about the allegations against you? Oh wait, it is. You're clearly upset that people are pointing out your toxic behavior and bringing out some pretty damn evidence against you and your partner for being abusive?
Ultimately, the reason I made this video is because a lot of people say that other people don't have real problems, like skinny girls. They say, oh, you're skinny, you have nothing to feel bad about. That's not true. A lot of people get bullied as skinny people. They get called scrawny, pathetic, puny, etc. So to act like those people don't have problems is ignorant, and it makes you a little maybe less human in regards to feeling and relating with other people's suffering.
I can't help but feel you're being disingenuous here, my man. You've judged people for being too skinny and too fat, as I say in air quotes, in past videos. While I do believe with newer information you can change your opinion, I mean that's how it should work, of course. However, I feel you're being disingenuous due to your tone. How you say skinny and problem makes it seem like the key words there, and almost shifting the blame to plus-size people. Whether you intended that or not, it's still an issue. People's bodies are built vastly differently from one another, believe it or not. Some people can handle their bodies being super skinny. Some people can handle being overweight while still being pretty damn healthy. But even those have their limits, and the concern to encourage others to find their ideal weight is important regardless of their gender. The problem with you, Greg, is you come off cocky on a high horse and claiming that is a much bigger issue than it actually is. Yes, skinny shaming is a thing, and so is fat shaming. Hell, any form of body shaming isn't okay. For years, you judged young girls and women's bodies, claiming it to be honest and calling them fat or skinny, making fun of their quote-unquote problem areas. It's unjustified, my man. A part of me prays to Odin you have changed that mindset, but from your tone, it seems as if it hasn't changed at all, so GG.
Oh, so you're an artist now, huh?
Yes, I am.
So long story short, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're something in between, I think it's probably better that we not look at each other and go, your suffering is less. Because when you advance in the world, when you get that house you want, when you get that car you want, you're going to start noticing new problems. And those problems are probably going to feel pretty similar to your old problems. In fact, there's even a quote, a popular phrase that really captivates how, despite the fact that you advance in the world, you still have significant problems. It's called "Mo money, more problems."
Bruh. My man, that's not how life is. It only exists because people fail to save money and overly spend. It only exists for those who can't manage their goddamn money like you have in the past.
It's a phrase for a reason. You really do typically have more problems when you have more money. They may be smaller problems, they may be different problems, but they still feel like a whole lot. And the reason they do is because the rules typically change when you get rich. And you would know about this if you researched the entire financial world of the wealthy.
Wait. Hold up. So, where are your resources then? Where's your links? And where are the screenshots of what you're claiming? And I could be reading too much into this, but you're saying you have to be rich in order to deal with real problems? And I'm not going to finish the last few minutes because he's basically saying that if you become rich, you'll have more problems, so don't achieve your dreams and goals to be successful because you have more problems. Do you not see the problem with your wording here? That is so manipulative to the 10th degree. How so? You keep changing the subject more than once. If you're going to talk about an example, then maybe you should, I don't know, stick to one instead of flipping around, focus on one or the other subject, because it feels like you were trying to avoid what you were really trying to say. Felt really fake and gross, to be completely honest. Switching between body shaming and the financial problems is comparing apples to tangerines. It's just It just doesn't make sense at all and felt like you were misleading on purpose. Whether you intended it or not is very manipulative and sounds like you were telling people not to achieve their dreams. You make bold claims about the issues of the rich, and you most likely never posted any links or evidence of your claims. How can we trust your statement if you can't provide evidence of your claim? Along with, you claim people have similar problems depending on the degree of how they react is so black and white. People deal with problems differently and they deal with stress differently. To most other people, for them being an outsider looking in, they make that assumption, but then think, oh, wait, I don't go through what they do, so it's probably different. You don't know that person's life. You're making assumptions on people's problems, and depending on the problem, sometimes it's a much bigger issue. It can vary from person to person. Claiming that if there is no suffering, there will be no problems is basically what you're saying, and it's blatantly fake. While my audience may not have seen the visuals, but they could definitely hear your tone, and you clearly are being fake deep. GG, Greg. As much as I would love to trash talk you, I won't, because this video would be much longer than it needed to be, and I've gone long enough. I've said what I've wanted to say, and that'll be it. Hey, you made it to the end of the video! This is actually really exciting me to do, to come back and bring you guys a new commentary, and super fun as well. Don't forget to subscribe for past or even future content, and may your path send you down to the way of peace. Blessed be.